between Cloud9 Maelstrom and Cognitive Gaming.
We're getting into the top 3, Jake. Yes, we're moving forward. Jester, are you in? Let's do this. I am so excited for these games. The breakout performance from Cognitive, we're seeing them just charging through this lower bracket. They want to bring the heat to Cloud9 Maelstrom. That is just going to be the best series.
And another great storyline is that this is the only new team now in the top 3. It's not the return of the old bloods. Cognitive Gaming getting now into top 8, top 4, top 3. Can they make it to the top 2 and secure $4 grand?
I hope so.
Have to say,
I hope so.
Yes, the momentum, I think, is a big story to tell for this team. Like, again, they just had iakona and Glaurung on the team, the newest additions, and the fact that all of a sudden the synergy is clicking, you have to imagine that the energy is so high in at that team house. The land center that they're playing at, just you can hear them in the back during the interview too. They're all yelling. They're really, really excited, and that's going to be something that's going to put Maelstrom like, all right, these guys are ready to go.
Yeah, they are rip-roaring and ready to go. So, their opponents, Cloud9 Maelstrom, just to give you a little bit of a recap on those guys because, they are the number 2 seed. They are now coming into here for a possible top 2, although they have secured their top 3, and they have also secured their way into that regionals. But 8-1 coming into this. Blackheart's Bay is their most played. We're going to have to see if that comes into it for these last set of games because, whoever comes out on top goes up against Tempo Storm.
Yeah, and Maelstrom, they had time to sit back and watch those games out of Cognitive, so they're well aware of the style that Cognitive likes to play. Let's take a look at some of the stats that Cognitive does have themselves. We do see a lot of Butcher play. They're known for their melee assassins, but they also play a lot of Malfurion and Johanna.
Yes, okay, so also the battleground of choice, or at least their most played, is Accursed Hollow. They've made a lot of cool plays in that, especially with the Zeratul. I'm remembering that chase in the false had a lot of fun games there. They also go out and eat a big breakfast before every tournament.
That just makes me hungry, so we're not going to talk about that.
Well, they ate their Wheaties for sure today, because here they are into the top 3, and they're just doing phenomenally well.
All right, guys. Well, don't forget that you can take part in the action by voting on Twitter. Use the hashtag HeroesWC and either hashtag Cloud9 Maelstrom or hashtag Cognitive during this series.
I like this so far. 100% on top of Cognitive. You guys know exactly who you want to move on.
Yeah, the voice of the people has been quite strong. That last series, I think it was something like 78% of you guys were voting for Cognitive to move on. So, the viewers, you guys are pretty smart.
All right, guys. Well, without further delay, we are ready to rock and roll here for the first draft in this best of 3 series, and we're going to be playing on the battleground Cursed Hollow.
And guess whose favorite battleground this was? We just saw it. Cognitive absolutely adores this this battleground. So coming into this on the back of a big win like that into their favorite battleground, this is feeling good for them.
Okay, so we see the first ban. Yes, Tassadar, I think we're still going to see a lot of this, even if there's a little bit of a shift in the meta. It's not going completely a 180. Zeratul still being taken out. Cloud9 Maelstrom, are they going to follow this up with a first pick on Jaina?
So I just want to talk about the Tassadar ban really quickly. Tassadar is one of the better responses to Zeratul, and if you set that up as your first ban, you almost guarantee your opponents will ban out the Zeratul. You can see his kit here, incredibly powerful. He can shield the structures or his allies with Plasma Shield. Psionic Storm, incredible lane clear and just damage in general to stall out the tributes, and then Dimensional Shift. So hard to take him down as he becomes invisible and invulnerable when he goes into that form.
Now, back in the Heroes of the Dorm days, we actually saw quite a bit of Force Wall, but today and this weekend, it's been all about that Archon. We haven't had a single Force Wall yet here on stream, but with that Archon, I mean, he kind of fills into a flexible role. First pick is going to be Jaina, but the Tassadar said, he could be a little bit of support, a little bit of assassin, a little bit of a specialist. He kind of is just overall a great pick, and in this case, a great ban.
So does Cognitive look to secure a bit of their late game with the Kael'thas, or do they want their game plan, their tried and true strategy of the Butcher? What are they going to pair this up with? Maybe a Tyrande, a Murden. There's a lot of options they could go. They could try to lock in their support as well. Okay,
we've seen this before.
They're going back to what they were doing yesterday. Now, we actually saw them in, I believe it was the first round, try to do a triple melee assassin. Butcher, Kerrigan, Illidan is something they busted out. It didn't really work out.
Yeah, in fact, it was the team they just were able to topple. The complexity in this case. So yeah, they have the wacky strategies. We saw something a little bit more traditional out of them, and we saw Shot talking about that in the interview. So this is, I would say, pretty far from that traditional.
No, big steal right there with the Tyrande and Uther as well going over to Cloud9 Maelstrom. They're not leaving anything here to chance, but Cognitive, as you said, triple assassin, no warrior yesterday was one game, double assassin and Lili by the end of it for the second. That's how they got down here into this lower bracket in the first place. Those comps did not work, and now with so much on the line, Cognitive saying, no, this will work, don't worry.
So really quickly, I want to pick your guys' brains, because picking Butcher Tyrande or Butcher Kerrigan is really scary, but do you think there's any risk of them losing Kerrigan? Do you think it might make a little bit more sense to try to grab Tyrande a bit earlier in the draft?
You know, we saw Fan playing Kerrigan just earlier today, so there is the possibility that, especially considering the Tyrande is there, I realized, you know, that was after the fact in that, but the potential is there. I don't think it's something completely out of the scope that Maelstrom would pick, so if that's something that's a big strategy they're looking to execute, yeah, they'll go for it.
That Zagara ban is absolutely out of this world, because, hey, what happened when Complexity took on Cognitive with all those melee assassins? They went zone control, including the Maw from Zagara, those creep tumors for the early vision warning. Of course, you know, gives Zagara that movement speed as well. So it's out. That's a phenomenal ban coming out of Cognitive.
Yeah, there's no Void Prison because he's banned out, and no Maw because she's banned out. So when it comes to those snap call reactions, Brightwing is the next best response that we tend to see with the Emerald Wind, but she is very much kind of extinct at this point in time.
I'm holding out hope at this point.
Okay, Cognitive at this point, sort of given the choice of what warrior they're going to pick and also what Cloud9 Maelstrom is going to pick, very likely to be a Muradin on the other side, but Johanna, yes, and also the Kael'thas securing that late game.
This is a Kael'thas as almost a last pick.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened
yet. It's uncommon. It is crazy, right? That's for sure. Muradin will be picked up here on the side of Cloud9 Maelstrom. They have a lot of lockdown. That's a big roaming potential for the Tyrande, Muradin, and then Jaina, and Sylvanas will be the final pick.
That Wailing Arrow could get a lot of value if those melees clump up, Kubi.
Yeah, there's a lot of choices in terms of what they could have gone for this extra damage spot in the last pick. So they went for Sylvanas. It could have been a Vala, it could have been a Falstad. We've seen them run that in the past. So they're obviously looking to prioritize the silence over anything else. In particular, I think that can put a huge hurt onto the Butcher and Kerrigan as they dive in. If they don't have the abilities to have that huge aggression, all of a sudden they're starting to march forward, and then they're silenced, out of position, things get scary quickly.
Yep. Yeah. So if you do overextend into that, you could find yourself on the worst of the trades going back and forth. But early game, I mean, this is Cursed Hollow. There's a lot of roaming that's available to these guys. So the Butcher, really known for his roaming. Kerrigan, really known for her roaming. And how many inflexible or unmobile characters do we actually have for Cloud9 Maelstrom? Total of 3 right now. So in this early game, I would really expect to see Cognitive try to set up that roam. Maybe perhaps just with the Kerrigan and the Butcher just going side by side. They set up 3 for the soak. And if that can get us a little bit of a level advantage, level 4, level 7, those are the kind of the big timings where you see tributes coming up, and they might be able to use those levels to their advantage for some curses.
The other thing you have to consider is when the threat of the roam is that high, you can actually use that to your advantage and go into the mercenary camps and collect them. Because if you run through, grab maybe a couple packs of giants or bruisers, well, you're already scaring them into thinking that you're rotating. Yeah, if you put that threat, they will stay behind the wall. I believe that we have a game number 1 up and ready to go. So we're going to try to hop on into that. This is the lower bracket final. All right, guys. Game 1 here on Cursed Hollow. We're going to have Cloud9 Maelstrom from the left side with Caffeine, played by Muradin. DunkTrain on Uther. Fan going to be playing Sylvanas. Keiwan Pro on Tyrande, and iDream rounding up the team as Jaina. On the right side for Cognitive, excuse me, we are going to have Iakona will be on the Malfurion. Scylol on the Johanna once again. Glaurung playing one of his favorites. That is Kerrigan. Hospital with the flex play on the Butcher, and rounding out the composition we'll have Shot on the Kael'thas. Riding a Golden Tiger, no less. Oh, but there's a different tint, one of the darker tints for the Golden Tiger. The Panther. The Golden Panther. The Shiny Panther? I don't know what it is, but it's a cool mount regardless. And, all right, guys, this means a lot. Now, both of these teams have qualified for North America Regionals to represent, well, America. Sure. A little bit of a burden lifted, but not quite. Because they still want that huge piece of the prize pool. Not only that, but additional seeding for the future events. There's so much more on the line. Not only that, but the pride. Both of these teams want a chance to go up against Tempo Storm. And you talked about the huge piece of the prize pool. This is by far the largest prize event they've been in. I mean, $25,000 total. A lot on the lines. We have 4 members from Cognitive in this bottom lane, just showing they want to bring the fight early.
Did you see that haunting wave? As soon as he popped out, it was just like, hey, guys, Butcher's here. Butcher's here.
100%. Kind of been toppled. It's now 53 to 47%. You yourself can vote. Just use the hashtag HeroesWC and Cloud9 Maelstrom or Cognitive, respectively.
So you guys can't see this, but Jake was he was circling the numbers and he was going, ooh, 100%. I thought you were actually going to add those two up and trying to tell me that. I was like, great caster math, Jake. Really nailing it down there.
I am actually a professional when it comes to caster math. No one comes near my skills. All right, bottom lane, we do have Kerrigan and Butcher continuously just kind of roaming between these two lanes, trying to find someone out of position. Murden is very hard to lock down. Not only is he a warrior with a large health pool, but he has the dwarf toss to get back into his dwarf hole.
Okay, so Butcher once again is opting to grab the block at level 1, even though, you know, we see it again, there's no big threats in terms of auto attackers. It's just about the damage mitigation. They're just trying to make sure they can keep the Butcher alive as long as possible. Anything else that's jumping out at me for heroics? I guess just Murden, played by KingCaffeine, is still looking for that reverberation for the attack speed slow.
I like the response there from Cognitive. They lost Kael'thas in the bottom lane, and they just used Kerrigan and Butcher to take down one tower, and then Johanna rotated down to soak up the rest of the minions.
Hey, Jake, look at this. This is exactly what you predicted would happen. Put a little bit of a threat down before the 2-minute mark, which is when the bruiser camps, or, you know, the siege camps in this case, will spawn. If you have the enemy team backed up and a little bit scared, that gives you a lot of time to get these mercenary camps uncontested.
And when you consider that the tribute will be spawning within the next 20 seconds, having these giants down here is going to be a nice little bonus. The nice gravity labs connecting onto Cloud9 Fan, but the charge shouldn't be enough to lock him down as Haunting Wave still available.
Also a good response from Cloud9 Maelstrom too. They sent over the Sentinel just to check to see if they were there. They did see that, and they immediately moved forward and put a lot of pressure into the mid lane, trying to get some early damage in on those towers.
That's the power of any of these kind of vision abilities like the Sentinel on Tyrande. It is going to be a bottom center tribute spawning here for the first tribute of this game, and these giants, they're not having the best of luck being locked down by Sylvanas.
Double protective shields picked up. Hold on, Kael'thas actually getting isolated. The poison from the Envenom is going to be enough. That is a heavy loss to take just before the first tribute pops up. I imagine this will go uncontested by Cloud9 Maelstrom. They will grab the first tribute, as, you know, really the name of the game right now for Cognitive is to just soak after that takedown was happening.
Yeah, if you don't have a hero that's down here in the bottom lane, you just kind of have to give it up. Now, Furin opted to stay in the top to ensure that soak, and level 7 right around the corner in favor of Cloud9.
Okay, yes. That will keep Cognitive backed up for just a moment while they make sure they can try to get to that advantage back in terms of talent tiers.
It's pretty even thus far, but it is 2-0 in terms of the takedowns in favor of Cloud9. Now, we talked about the rotations being very much scary in favor of Cognitive, but Cloud9 has had the response each and every time, and that is just the power of the lockdown between Uther and Tyrande.
So it's very apparent that Cognitive is looking to have an early game advantage. Maelstrom's response thus far, especially being able to pick off Kael'thas early and sort of gain back that map control, is good. Has Cognitive done enough in this early game, Jake, do you think, to justify grabbing this composition?
Not really. They've done a good amount of damage in the middle lane, so just getting that structural damage done, getting these bruisers, going to force a response out of Cloud9, but they're so ready. They have 3 members here, including Sylvanas, who can lock them down, and they're just handling these mercenary camps each and every time.
Unstable poison grabbed by Fan on the side of Cloud9 Maelstrom. I think the rest of those talents are fairly norm for what we see. Hold on a second, Keiwan Pro with a bit of an overextension, and the hamstring was enough. Speaking of hamstring, we do have the increased damage on the next auto attack after that is cast, and since it resets your attack, it's a lot more burst damage for the Butcher.
Yeah, this burst style that we've seen where you do the Ruthless Onslaught just followed by the hamstring, then the auto attack, you can really blow people up quickly, but Kael'thas just got himself blown up, and now Caffeine with Fan pushing them off of this top lane boss.
Yeah, not looking to overextend too much with the Kael'thas out there. So a good response from Cloud9 Maelstrom. Yes, they had that one takedown that fell their way, but they're still maintaining that map presence.
All right, well, the Bruiser camp is still available on the side of Cloud9 if they do decide they want to go for it. Sylvanas is pretty good at getting the mercenary camps, but they're currently up 2-0 in terms of tributes, and they have about a half-level lead in their favor. This is a tight spot where Cognitive, they should try to find a timing to take an attack before level 10 is achieved.
So I'm looking at Kerrigan taking the giant camp in the lower right-hand corner of the map, and also a talent that pairs pretty well with it is the Impaling Swarm, which is Zergling's pop out when that Impale is used. It really does actually quite the number to soak shots and allow her to be a better jungler, if you will.
Yeah, it's actually just really cool to just, like you said, soak up the damage dealt by those enemy mercenaries, or the neutral mercenaries, if you will. But level 10 about to be achieved. This is going to set Maelstrom up so well to collect the first curse of this game.
Yeah, they already have.
They've got to find something. They've got to make something happen.
They've got the pressure already on with the 2 tributes already having been picked up with a level 10 advantage. This is going to be a very difficult defense. I would even go so far as to argue they should give this up, just defend the curse, and then look to try to take advantages a little bit further into the mid-game.
Yeah, the Flame Strike just a little bit short, and now Shot is out of position. The Lunar Flare connects, followed by that Hammer of Justice and the Stormbolt. Kael'thas falling once more. Cloud9 is on fire.
A good attempt from Glaurung to try to pull and stun over that, but there were too many heroes nearby. Yeah, the positioning for Kael'thas is going to have to get stepped up a little bit. There's been too many takedowns in the early game, and I think that's a good majority of the reason why Maelstrom is in the advantage they have. Not only in the map objective, as we can see the curse is applying a lot of pressure, but also takedowns and that single level.
And that turns into a lot. You're talking a curse with a level advantage. This middle fort is going to fall as these forts collapse. They give a ton of experience, propelling Cloud9 Maelstrom even further ahead. But we do have Cognitive in the top lane uncontested right now, so they're getting that experience themselves by taking out the structures. That'll really help them catch up in this game.
It's an interesting thing. I'm sure Cloud9 Maelstrom wasn't quite expecting that, because you think your team gets cursed and that puts you into defense mode. Cognitive looking to try to take some advantage, the best of the bad situation, if you will. While all this action was happening, Jake, we did have level 10 strike. We can talk a little bit about some of the heroics that were picked up. We do have the Divine Shield for Uther, Water Elemental, the Starfall, the Silence, as we expected for Sylvanas. Haven't seen Possession in some time.
No.
The Avatar was picked up on Muradin as well. For Cognitive, we also have Maelstrom, we have the Furnace Blast Phoenix, the Tranquility, and the Blessed Shield were picked up. So there's a good bit of support there for the 2 melee assassins.
And some big combos you can set up with the Blessed Shield. That's going to be kind of their initiation, followed by a potential Furnace with the Phoenix, and then of course the Maelstrom and Kerrigan. A lot of AoE damage, but the Sentinel on point each and every time. Water Elemental thrown down in an instant to try to peel or try to knock down Glaurung. Using that wall to try to escape here. Blessed Shield has been spent. Glaurung will end up falling here, yes.
Some cool plays, some neat jukes, but in the end is not going to quite be enough. And even Scylol might be under a good bit of pressure. The entire team for Cloud9 Maelstrom is present, trying to lock this down, with Sylvanas able to shut down. There's no slow from the fort, and they are able to secure that. It's 2 takedowns for a little bit of an overextension on this boss. Something that they may have been able to get away with on some of the other teams in the lower bracket, but Maelstrom is having none of it. The vision is on point.
Cloud9 is playing so clean. Every time that someone is missing, they're constantly counting heads. If they cannot see 4 or 5 members on the side of Cognitive on the minimap, they're just going to shoot a Sentinel at a likely point of the boss, wherever those priority mercenaries are.
Yeah, it just feels like the second the 2 melee assassins go to take a boss, like, oh, yeah, we see you. And I can only imagine how disheartening those Sentinels are, because they were like, oh, we wanted to take this boss, we gotta leave.
That Sentinel just went across the map and hit Kael'thas. I saw it on the mini-map, like...
It's a sharpshooter. K1 Pro.
What is happening?
What a beast.
The hoots are too strong.
The hoots. All right, level 13 just about picked up for both sides at this point. We have a Shrink Ray, 1 Ice Block picked up on the side for Jaina, the Sprint, actually for Tyrande. We do have the Evasive Fire, yes, which is the increase for the move speed. Actually, in this case, instead of having the slow on the trait for the enemy heroes, and also the increased damage on the Reverberation.
All right, well, Sentinel did reveal that everyone is rotating up. Cognitive wants to contest this top boss. 13 to 14, even talent footing, but there is a boss wheeling away at the bottom keep, structure wall down here in this lane.
A lot more defensive talents picked up as well. 2 spell shields for Butcher and Johanna, and an ice block for Malfurion. So we'll see how that plays into future team fights, but so far a lot of things have just been members of Cognitive getting picked off for a little bit slightly greedy plays. This might even be exactly what we're talking about.
Yeah, I mean, but Glaurung is moving in. Dwarf Toss does go out. Sprint was spent there. And we do see that the Sentinel will once again connecting onto Butcher, revealing positioning. We have all 5 heroes in the top portion of the map. The boss made it through the wall, but gonna fall at the fountain.
Look at this, both teams trying to set up a party bush on either side there. And kind of amusing, Scylol all of a sudden pops out, and I think DunkTrain was like, oh, I didn't even know he was there. But they're gonna set this up into a play nonetheless. I like the defensive. Phoenix is just gonna force Maelstrom to back up. The silence is very much on point. That is going to be what allows Kerrigan to get taken out. And Glaurung, now all of a sudden, the 2 2 melee assassins are out. That was their initiation. They have to back up.
Yeah, losing those 2 melee assassins right there. The Sentinel will dismount Kael'thas. Nice gravity lapse will keep him safe, but this is going to open up the opportunity for this boss to be collected. The first boss of the game. Second boss of the game.
I think they're really making a case, Maelstrom is, for why they picked Sylvanas in this case. The silence did so much to punish both of the melee assassins. They're just looking for, I mean, ideally the melee assassins will pick one target to leap on and try to burst it down. If the silence is timed well, it's going to really, you know, put a damper in that type of plan and punish them for that. It's exactly what we saw in that last fight.
16 picked up here, and we do see it's going to be Lunar Blaze on the Tyrande. Additional damage output and mana refunded with that, really speccing into that talent.
Yeah, I'm just kind of waiting to see what Fang is going to grab on Sylvanas. I think that's probably the most contested tier for that hero at this point. I'm still making that decision. I feel like Fang is one of the players that likes to wait the most on picking up talents.
He does, yeah. He's like, you're thinking about it, huh? Yeah, I'm thinking about it.
I know you guys are checking that tab screen a lot. You want to know what I'm going to pick.
All right, well, the boss going to make his way through this wall, throwing down a random route, but not going to be able to take down this keep. The next tribute is spawning here, and this could be the 6th in a row going the way of Maelstrom, as they very much do have that level lead.
So difficult, it seems, for Cognitive to sort of punch through the map awareness that Cloud9 Maelstrom has. They tried to throw them off with the draft of the double melee assassin, but so far the map presence and their awareness of every single rotation that Cognitive is making has been thwarted every single time for Cloud9 Maelstrom. And it's just like, how disheartening does that have to be for Cognitive at this point? It seems like they have a crazy idea, but they just can't seem to find any places to execute it.
It's tough, and it's going to be tough to defend this. They're getting very close to taking out that Muradin, but the Divine Shield there in time for him to heal back up, and it looks like he hasn't taken a scratch thus far.
Fan was thinking about this for a long time. I think this next pickup makes a lot of sense. It is the Will of the Forsaken, which is kind of her own version of the Iron Skin that Johanna has. It is an unstoppable and an increase of movement speed, something I expect a lot of Sylvanas players will start to pick up in the future. It's just a great way to, there it is, right there. You guys see it, right? A great example of that and why it's such a strong ability.
Oh my gosh, the Water Elemental and the Wailing Arrow going down onto the Kerrigan. Butcher going to end up falling as well. That's the 2 melee assassins falling first. Once more, and Caffeine isn't afraid to get in that battle. Dwarf tossing himself out of there. It's looking like it's going to be 4 heroes, potentially all 5 falling on the side of Cognitive.
Yeah, I think that is going to be it. It looks as though Maelstrom just, you know, we're talked about so much about this momentum that Cognitive has, and it just, that felt like a giant slap from Cloud9 Maelstrom that just said, no, sit down. You guys need to learn a little bit of something about the experienced teams here from Heroes of the Storm. That was a convincing win.
That's what I call clean. Very smooth play by Cloud9. Really just one stun with a just perfect timed second stun. The follow-ups were there. There was no rush, no overlap. The communication of Cloud9 really shining through.
Okay, so that is going to be a victory for Cloud9 Maelstrom in Game 1 of the lower bracket finals. I think there's a little bit of saltiness for Cloud9 Maelstrom. They want that rematch up against Tempo Storm, and they say the Cognitive is not going to stand in the way of that.
What was the saltiest moment of that game, Jester?
I gotta say, like, a little bit early on, we're gonna talk about this in the replay, we said, you have to get that early roam. Butcher, Kerrigan, great, they're great roamers. Together, maybe not so much. We had 1 takedown by the end of it all. For Cognitive, and by the end of it as well, every single fort stood. We didn't get a single curse. So whatever early aggression that these guys were trying, it didn't quite work. And I think the saltiest moment, if you say it like that, is exactly what I'm about to show you here in this replay. Because, again, like, they have such great engage, the Kerrigan, the Butcher. This was back at level 13, almost level 14. So we are on that talent tier equivalency. But the big target, you can see already the pings down here. Everybody wants to jump on top of Jaina. She's into the back. She's exposed. The flank is there, and guess what? I have a Butcher. I can charge in. I got a Kerrigan. I can charge in, and unfortunately, they kind of charge into a Silence Arrow. The Wailing Arrow hits right here, and as we're about to advance and go into it, keep your eyes on that spot. So here we go. Here comes the charge. It's going to be iDream. It's going to be Kerrigan. Big Silence Arrow. Kerrigan goes in. Cannot do a silly thing at all, and Cognitive as well lose out the Butcher. The Furnace just comes out way too late. The heals are too good, and that is the big problem up against Sylvanas. They both got hit by it. They clumped up, and so they charged in, basically just flailed around a bit, and got discombobulated from there.
Yep,
Big plays. Yeah, it sounds like me getting off an airplane with my luggage, just kind of flailing around with silence. I don't know what's happening.
Like one of those wacky balloon guys. Ah, so good to stretch.
Oh, man. Kind of like those drawings that we saw there, some waviness. I like that, yeah.
The squiggly lines of doom.
The squiggly lines. So, yeah, I think a lot of that came down to shutting down the melee assassins, and that play right there was a great example of it, the silence being used to great effect, and then just having the burst damage on top of that. And just, you know, if they were able to control that part of the team fight, we saw that Maelstrom went out way ahead.
Well, guys, we want to know what you think about these games. Get on Twitter, use the hashtag HeroesWC, and tweet at BlizzHeroes. And you can, of course, vote for Cloud9 Maelstrom or Cognitive to see, well, who might actually advance here.
Well, it's looking like a heavy favorite, but of course, you know, guys, we're playing Heroes of the Storm. You can too. Hit us up, heroesofthestorm.com, because, you know, it's one of my favorite bookmarks. It's actually my homepage back at home.
Okay, so we are going to head on over to game number 2. We're going to get that set up just after this break. So guys, don't go anywhere for more Heroes of the Storm action.
If I'm not playing Heroes of the Storm, I'm either spending time with my family or trying to stay in shape so I can perform better inside the game.
I like collecting Funko Pop action figures, I like hiking, and I also really like going jogging.
I'm taking a class right now at a community college in the morning.
Right now my life is pretty much getting better Heroes of the Storm, getting better at the game, and trying to make a name for myself and my teammates.
I love all the Blizzard games, so I play StarCraft, WoW, Hearthstone.
Before moving to the house, I used to work a day job at Google. My family at first wasn't too supportive. They're not quite sure, like, oh, you have a nice job, you can just work your 9 to 5. They weren't even like really aware that this was, so they were just really confused when I started talking to them about this at first. They're like, video games getting paid? What? No way.
I currently work in San Francisco as a research data analyst.
I love the outdoors, I love to kayak.
What do I do outside of Heroes of the Storm? That's a damn good question.
And it all comes down to this Stormwind champion versus Ogre Brute.
I'm feeling really good about Stormwind here.
Whoa.
Am I seeing this right?
Could be a scare tactic, Bob. Could be nerves.
I don't think scare tactics work with ogres.
You know from experience.
Okay, well, let's not get into my personal life.
Hold that thought. Looks like we have a substitution. It's Tankmaster Overspark.
This guy's a very technical player. His game's about nuance, precision.
Whoa, that's Hearthstone.
Play free on your phone or PC.
Rated T for T.
To be the first, Hellscream. You were destined to be my greatest champion. And instead, you chose this. You have no vision. Behold, what a true seat of power demands. A citadel of hellish fire worthy of my masters. A monument to entomb the souls of all who would dare to defy us.
They will defy you. I have seen their forces in battle. They are fearless. It does not matter what vile creatures you summon to the battle. They will persevere. Their resolve is unbreaking. They will come. They will fight. And they will wash their blades of your blood in victory.
Fight if you must, Hellscream. it is no matter. In the end, we all serve the Legion.
I think we approach the draft a little differently than everyone else. We just try to kind of evaluate how we feel all the things that are currently available in the meta feel to us, and then mostly play a reactive draft style where we look at what the enemy is going for and try to play around that and get something that we're going to be comfortable playing.
Most of the time when we play, we don't care too much about what map we play on, actually. I'm very confident in our ability to pretty much play all the maps, so it doesn't really matter which map we get.
When it comes to maps, I feel like we're just extremely comfortable on every map.
I can't even think of a comp that we wouldn't be really comfortable playing.
In ESL majors and stuff, there's map banning, and like that's like the worst process for us because like we don't know what map to ban because we want to play on all of them.
We try to approach the draft with as open of a mind as possible to make sure the draft goes our way and we play our game.
Drafting is like one of our really big strengths.
Welcome back here to the July North America Open for Heroes of the Storm. I am your host, Solid Jake Kalinske, joined by my co-commentator, Corey Kubihover, and our analyst, Sean Jester Delaney.
Okay, so we find ourselves in the lower bracket finals. Cognitive up against Cloud9 Maelstrom, who are now up 1-0 in this 2 out of 3. So things are now on the line for Cognitive.
Yeah, things are getting dicey for them, but everything has been smooth sailing over here because of our sponsors. Remember, guys, the Heroes of the Storm North American Road to BlizzCon is brought to you by our official hardware partners of Gigabyte and NVIDIA, and we couldn't have done any of this without them.
And don't forget to get on social media and take part in the action. Use the hashtag HeroesWC, and you can vote for Cloud9 Maelstrom or Cognitive.
Yeah, we actually saw some pretty close polls for the last series there. I think it was just a little bit in favor of Cloud9 Maelstrom. I think that performance may be changing some minds, but we'll see. I know a lot of you guys out there are diehard Cognitive fans, so we'll see how that changes in this game. What kind of strategies is Cognitive going to throw at Cloud9 Maelstrom? They've been throwing some very wacky things all day, all weekend in this event, so I'm very excited to see the draft.
I don't know if we'll see a double assassin picked up, but we're about to find out. Let's hop on into the draft here for game number 2, and it's going to be Blackheart's Bay.
All right, a map that we actually have seen a few times now, but going back and forth, Blackheart's Bay as a battleground, it's a little different in terms of the focus. You will probably still see a Butcher emphasis here from Cognitive, because what did we see a bit earlier here, Coobs, when Gilly and I were up there on the desk? It was a soloing, well, actually maybe soloing with a hat, kind of Abathur Butcher combination. They took a boss at 4 minutes undetected. The mercenary camps just kept falling and falling. I would not be surprised to see something similar come out here.
Okay, but the Zeratul is going to be taken out. They say that we would rather play against the Butcher than the Zeratul in this case. Cognitive maybe thinking that Maelstrom's like, oh, are they rusty on the Zeratul? No, definitely not the case. Not from that cursed hollow match that we saw a little bit earlier. And Cognitive looking to lock in that melee assassin. It will be the Butcher played once more.
So here's the thing. Cloud9 is going to pick up Tyrande. Like, it's pretty much a guaranteed pickup. Tyrande not only pairs so well with Butcher, but she made so many big plays in that last game.
Yes. The Sentinels were very much so on point. There it is. The Tyrande. Are they also going to try to look to lock in the late game? They could go for the Kael'thas. They could try to limit which of the warriors is going to get passed out. So many different ways they can take this. We'll have to wait and see what Cloud9 Maelstrom chooses.
So last time we actually got support locked from Cognitive, and already you see the Uther coming out. Now Cognitive with 2 picks before we go into those bans. Will there be an Abathur? That's the big question for me. I was kind of curious to see if Maelstrom would actually take not only the Tyrande, but the Abathur as well. And now that that's not the case, will Cognitive actually prioritize it here or risk a ban going forward?
As weird as this is, I'd like to see them pick up Arthas. I think Arthas Rhaegar would be a cool combo for them, but we haven't seen a whole lot of Arthas out of Cognitive this weekend.
Yep, because they haven't really been running with a lot of warriors overall.
But they're going to go for Johanna, the Crusader herself. with her tetherball and flashlight action.
Tetherball and flashlight. And there is the Kale Thos that I was expecting to see maybe on Cloud9 Maelstrom's side. Not the case. The Cognitive also showing that this is one of the heroes they have a propensity to play. They look to try to secure that late game by having a strong early game. They round out their composition with this Kale Thos.
This means that there's no mage for Maelstrom because Jaina was a ban. Kale Thos has now been picked up. That leaves you with Sylvanas, I guess, at best.
I mean, it's not bad. Sylvanas and Vala, you can never forget her. And Falstad, when he does have those gathering power stacks, he hits like a truck.
Indeed.
Not a meat truck, though.
Yep.
You were talking about the Abathur getting pulled out. Cloud9 Maelstrom doing exactly that, pulling Abathur out so they can't make those kind of crazy plays, taking those early bosses, at that 3-minute mark.
Interesting.
On the other side, Cognitive will be removing Zagara, just trying to limit the amount of lane control that Maelstrom will have in the bottom side.
Laning, zoning, fight control. I mean, the Maw, put down your Mutalisks. You got good vision with the creep tumors, and good vision into that bottom lane is what you're going to need. There's no Tassadar ban and no Tassadar pick as of yet. I would really expect to kind of see that either here or into the next one for Cognitive.
Maelstrom going back to their roots, and they're taking the Falstad. They will be locking in Muradin as well, so they're looking to have a little bit of that mobility, but also the big Hinterwinds Blast. Jester, your favorite, the squiggly lines.
The squiggly lines of death. You get a triple kill with that, and we'll call it the Bacon Blast for you. As it can absolutely do fantastic work, or it can completely miss and be a dud.
Well, I had a Bacon Blast for breakfast. I'm not sure what Cognitive had, but they're about to pick their next 2 heroes.
Flawless transition. Okay. It is going to be Rhaegar. They're looking to get that burst healing over the Malfurion, I think, would be the other choice at this point, considering that Uther is out. They've had enough times playing Lili. They're looking to get that burst, and it is going to be Rhaegar.
All right, Rhaegar, he is my boy. We used to be wolf buddies. He's got the Chain Heal, he's got the Lightning Shield and Earth behind Totem, but his 2 heroics, Bloodlust and Ancestral Healing. Now, Bloodlust is something we've theory crafted as having a lot of synergy with Butcher, but
Don't say we. You do this all the time. You are always calling for the Bloodlust, and I have to shoot you down and put you in your place every time. We've seen it once, Jake. The silence. Okay.
Your wolf brother is so much kinder to you than
I know, right?
your roommate.
Under the meat truck bus.
Ooh.
So there's the Tassadar that I was looking for. Cloud9 didn't pick it up, but with Cognitive, they need a good solo laner into that bottom lane. And when it comes to some of these team fights, a little bit of extra shielding could go a long way into this one. And remember, it's going to, well, at this point, statistically, be an Archon as well. So a little bit of support, a little bit of extra damage.
And we saw the power of the Wailing Arrow in that last game. It's going to be picked up once again here on Blackheart's Bay. Pretty similar compositions, but definitely some changes happening as there won't be that double melee assassin.
No, but with that Sylvanas, again, the Silence Era could be good. She is kind of like the 3rd mage at this point, and we didn't get the Jaina, didn't get the Kale Thos to go with Cloud9, but they did pick up the Falstad, like you were mentioning. They do have the Sylvanas there as well. So there's a good mix of either they can fight, they can push. It could go either way here.
Okay. On the blue side of the map, it is Cloud9 Maelstrom with Fan playing Sylvanas, iDream on Falstad, Caffeine playing as Muradin, DunkTrain rocking the Uther, and Keiwan Pro will be on Tyrande.
And on the right side of the map for Cognitive, finding themselves in the seat where they have to win a game to move on to secure themselves a better than top 3 spot. It is going to be Glaurung on the Butcher. Scylol will be playing Johanna. Hospital on Kale Thos. Iakona is going to be on the Rhaegar. And rounding it out, we have Shot on Tassadar.
Blackheart's Bay is the map, the watchtower, the big smiley face at the top.
Seasoned Marksman was picked up for Falstad. This means we're going to see a lot of rotations between the top and the mid lanes, trying to witness, I suppose, the takedowns of the creeps that are popping up in those lanes. Every single wave that goes by, you get an additional bonus attack point to your auto attack damage. And if they can sort of guarantee that this is going to go to the late game, something a really cool pickup we haven't seen in some time.
I wonder if Glaurung does shout "Witness me" every time he enables Muradin's onslaught, because that would be pretty cool. That would get me hyped up. While at the bottom lane, we currently see Butcher is getting that farm on collecting all of that fresh meat. And we do have the tribute spawning. Wow, very quick pickup on those bottom 5.
Something that's also seeming to be turning into a stylistic choice for Iakona. Every time we see him on Rhaegar, the Colossal Totem is picked up, and also the 90% root Jake at level 16 with the Earth Grasp. So just, yeah, again, a stylistic thing, but it also pairs fairly well with the aggressive nature that Cognitive likes to run.
Yes, well, Blackheart is available in the center of the map. Tyrande emerged and just scouting that area out, seeing if anyone was trying to turn in. They're also awaiting a potential ambush. It's going to look like Iakona is the target, but a nice juke on that Master.
Okay, the other talent that is also interesting that was picked up is the Barb Shot. That's the 200% bonus damage to minions and mercenaries. This battleground has a lot of a sort of weight on having control over the mercenaries, and the faster you can do that, especially with Sylvanas, the better off your team will be.
I mean, in a lot of ways, the merc camps are the objective on this map because they provide you the coins and the pirate camps on top of that. So seeing talents picked into that are quite nice for Sylvanas, but Butcher does excel in the jungle as well.
Okay, a lot of control back and forth over this watchtower. It does put a lot of pressure, I guess, on the Maelstrom if they don't have that watchtower, especially for Falstad, who's looking to try to get those soaks. I guess actually he's going to be in the bottom lane. Not sure if they're getting the most value they could, but I guess he's maybe the safest hero to put in the bottom lane to soak.
Yeah, definitely. I would have to agree with that, but Falstad does have the ability to fly up if needed, and that's the one big advantage that is on the side of Cloud9 only. He has the global presence to fly around the battlefield, whereas there's no Abathur or something of the like for Cognitive.
Okay, level 4 just picked up the protective shield on Uther, trying to, we saw this in the last time, it's actually double protective. We're going to see it once more. Just sort of a little bit of an insurance policy against the bursty style that Cognitive has picked up in the stun chains together. So good. Iakona has to stay alive for Cognitive. And will he be able to reach out? The Falstad is flying in. This is a big deal because of those coins, and they're not going to be able to reach. Are they overextended? Will there be a punishment? Not quite. Tassadar looking to try to put some pressure on from the backside.
Oh, that is huge. So very close to eliminating that Rhaegar, but the wolf form, well, you cannot dismount him while he is in it. That is one of the big powers of Rhaegar.
Sure, yeah, the early game takedowns are not always the biggest thing to get hype up, but yeah, the coins,
7 coins? Yeah, that's a big deal.
That's actually where the money shot. Yes, okay.
Team,
hello.
We have Bruisers in the top, Giants in the bottom, and they're going to be collected. Sentinel revealing it once more, but Glaurung has the clairvoyance to juke the birds.
Okay, yeah, and this is, we can expect to see a passive early game from Maelstrom. But I think Cognitive is always going to be a big pressure to put exactly that pressure onto Maelstrom. They have to slow down the mercenary camps that are probably going to be the huge focus for Maelstrom. And thus far, we haven't seen a whole lot of it. I want to see more of that early game presence from Cognitive.
Yeah, they're really just putting their eyes on the merc camps, like you mentioned, but the risk that you have to remember is when you have those coins, you can't drop them. We already saw that almost happen once. Rhaegar did fall back to tap the well, if I'm not mistaken. He's going to need to heal on up.
Okay, level 7 just hit for Cognitive. Does this give them sort of what they need to move forward? Are they going to try to get aggressive at this point? The chest just spawning, I think they will be backing up in that sense. Scylol looking to have the presence in the top lane. So far, the coins very much so going in the way of Cognitive.
Yeah, they've got 18 in their pockets now. Make that like 22. Caster math is hard. But 5 have been turned already by Cloud9, while there's 0 on the table for Cog. So they need to try to get those in because with K1 Pro and DunkTrain, that is enough for them to get the first siege from Blackheart.
Once more, we do see the Brutal Strike picked up, which is the increased damage for the auto attacks after having used Hamstring on that auto attack reset. So a lot more burst damage for the Butcher.
It is quite a bit of burst. I mean, he's just going to try to find Tyrande, try to find Sylvanas and eliminate them very quickly in this battle. But the top lane, they try to push in a little bit. Sylvanas there with the response. In the middle lane is being sieged up by Blackheart.
Okay, so yeah, with that turn in, that's a good bit more breathing room, I suppose, for the time being for Maelstrom, considering the amount of coins that Cognitive is holding on to, 24 at this point. So, just losing one team fight for Maelstrom at this point could be disastrous in terms of losing probably all of their forts with the consecutive turn-ins.
Yeah, that's so much momentum on your side when you get that, because it pushes you all that experience your way. You can start to take big team fights because of your talent advantage. But right now it's Cloud9 having the 1 level advantage. But look at this, Glaurung once again.
Oh, come on! Are you serious?
Every time they try to do anything, the bird is revealing their secrets.
So well played. And that is going to be credit to K1 Pro for always just having the sight. Like, they're probably just constantly on comms. Where's Glaurung? Where's Glaurung? What is he doing right now? I can't see him on the map. He's got to be doing some merc. Just fire the Sentinel off. He's constantly just keeping tabs on Glaurung.
All things considered, this worked out very nicely. They actually had the posture for Rhaegar to go in and turn that 10 coins in for Blackheart. He had exactly 10. So this could have even been forced out as a bait to rotate the team up towards that boss.
Sure. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How are they going to try to capitalize on it? Like you said, this does put a lot of heroes in the bottom lane, but they're, you know, up against Falstad. If he catches wind of this, right away, then he will be able to use the barrel roll to get to safety. So maybe a bit of expended resources in that sense of the map presence.
Well, alongside Cloud9, we're going to see Divine Shield, Avatar, Wailing Arrow, Hinterwind's Blast, and the Starfall. But Koobs, what's going on for the boys on Cognitive?
Okay, they look to try to get in, but I think they have already made use of the Relentless Onslaught. They will not be able to pick up iDream, and this puts them in a very weird spot. We see the rotation from Cloud9 Maelstrom. They thought they had the escape path sort of lined out, but DunkTrain is going to get the stun, and the Hinterwind's Blast from across the bridge. They are going to get the Ancestral Healing onto Glaurung.
The self-heals are heavy, but DunkTrain is backing up when he sees the Butcher's Brand, and that is a ton of coins being dropped by the Butcher.
Officially 1 ton now. 14 coins lay in the hands
Full meat truck.
Cloud9 Maelstrom. They're going to look to continue to turn in. That was a big momentum shift. It looked as though, you know, Cognitive, they were in a position, if we can get these coins turned in, we'll have much more map presence at this point in time. Things that look to be going so well for Maelstrom.
And we have to call that an overextension. Chasing the Falstad was far too greedy. Yes, Rhaegar has the wolf form, but they went way too far past enemy lines, and they paid for it dearly.
Yes, and with the cannon shots firing, Sylvanas and the rest of the crew in the bottom lane looking to try to save future cannon shots by, you know, taking down these walls. Yeah. Maybe they, you know, they have the offensive giants on the other side, so something that Tassadar has to respond to immediately. I think this affords them a good opportunity to put pressure on that bottom fort.
That's exactly what they will do. Blackheart did do a fair amount of damage. This will be just a bit shy of eliminating the bottom fort, but the minions are still sticking around, chipping away.
Okay, level 13, so that is a talent tier up. Most notably, the Shrink Ray will be very effective on the Butcher, reducing that movement
shield.
speed.
We see the Furnace Blast go off, and the moment that is activated, he realizes this is a dangerous scenario for Sylvanas. Divine Shield was used to mitigate all of the damage, and they're now fighting back. Lunar Flare connecting, but the Unstoppable activated by Johanna.
Well done. We do have the Relentless Onslaught going through, and that actually finds him inside the Phoenix, but they won't be following up on that. A lot of heroics have been spent, especially that Furnace Blast, you know, on a 90-second cooldown. It will be a while before Cognitive will have that burst damage initiation.
Yeah, I mean, it's a pretty long cooldown. Bruisers in the top lane, though, are a nice distraction that Cog has going for them. In terms of levels, they are down to talent tier because of 13 to 12. And when it comes to the coins, well, there are far more in the pocket of Cog at this point in time.
Still seeing, now the majority of you guys are thinking that Cognitive will be able to take this. They like this draft, and very, very interesting.
But Cog currently 40 or 52% to 48 in the favor. You guys can also vote. Just use the hashtag HeroesWC and hashtag Cloud9 Maelstrom or hashtag Cognitive.
Okay, an attempt to take the boss once more. At this point, where's the owl? That's all I'm waiting for, because I'm sure they're keeping track of this. Oh, but actually a good distraction. So, yes, they substitute. He's sending iDream up there. A little bit risky, honestly. Yeah. I mean, he had kind of face-checked that bush, and that could have gone really bad. Is he trying to solo this? What is going on right now?
I don't know, but I like it. Kubi, the Divine Shield comes out to keep Falstad invulnerable. We also see that Rhaegar has fallen to the side, and that's going to be a 3-for-0 pickup with the boss stolen by Cloud9.
That was ridiculous. I just saw iDream was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna march in here and do a 3v1. No big deal, guys, right? He goes in there, Uther follows that up, so well done from DunkTrain to get into the position. Yeah, just to move in. The Hinterwind's Blast that was thrown down right, was like, I'm sure Cognitive was like, oh, what's going on? Just Falstad's here, right? And then all of a sudden, the silence is really, oh, wow. And not able to deal with the prescience that was picked up just beforehand at level 13.
Like
so,
at that moment,
yeah,
that was a snap scoop of the prescience, allowing him to stay alive. But a lot of coins were lost, and we see they're being turned into Blackheart once again. This is going to be the 3rd turn-in for Cloud9 Maelstrom.
So what seemed to be a fairly stable early game, a lot of coins going the way of Cognitive, has turned around, especially with that boss pickup. Many cannon shots have been fired off sequentially for Maelstrom, and we just need, Cognitive has to battle back and somehow get some kind of battleground control, and they need to put pressure on Maelstrom somewhere.
Yeah, they need to just kind of break out and get some takedowns at this point in time, because we're looking at the chart. It's only 5-0, but the bigger story is the structural damage that has been done from the triple turn-in. Even this center keep of Cognitive is getting quite low.
It will get quite low. Yeah, we actually didn't even talk about the fact that there are no mules picked up on either side. Not the most imperative of battlegrounds that you would grab this on, but it's still very effective.
Yeah, it's a huge talent. We've seen games flat out won by it in the past. 12 here on Scylol, but he wants to turn them in the Sentinel is there at the exact moment he tries to turn in.
Spell Shield picked up for Johanna and Butcher once more. I think this makes a great amount of sense considering that, yeah, if they're going to look for Glaurung to be overextended, we see the Shrink Ray. Is that going to lead into a takedown? A bit of an overextension? Yes, we do see the Butcher does end up falling and the Starfall just kind of used as a, you know, for good measure.
Part of the reason that Cloud9 was so aggressive in eliminating the Butcher there was the Butcher's brand had just been used. So they knew it was on cooldown and they had a moment of opportunity to try to take him out. They did just that, and now they will just take out this fort, the keep, and try to back away. But the defense is here.
Yeah, not only that, but they forced out many heroics at the time being. The Archon is already out, and we also saw the Phoenix, although that is a fairly short cooldown. They want to keep these keeps alive, but I think that the amount of coins, no, they just turned in. They're actually fairly low on this step going.
Yeah, but Maelstrom, they've got 3 in their pockets. They only need 2 more after that to get enough for the turn-in on Blackheart. And the Pirate Camp, I believe they just pinged it. Maybe it's going to be spawning again soon.
Okay, backing up, just taking mercenary camps, just trying to gain any advantage they can. They want to try to fight on an even talent tier footing, only 1 level back. But by the time they get there, we're going to be looking at something like an 18-16 with all this battleground control the Cloud9 Maelstrom has. It's looking rough. They need something drastic.
They really do. And these towers are falling. That's a lot of experience going the way of Cloud9. This is going to just make more opportunity for the cannonballs to go onto the keeps. We saw the middle keep nearly fell. Everything looking great for them, and once 16 is hit by Cognitive, that's when they need to make their strike.
Cool to see them making use of the overdrive when the communication for the team is we're not going to fight, even if we see any of the heroes of the enemy team show up. So they're just saying we'll try to push as fast as possible because it's not in our interest right now to take a fight. Even though, I mean, considering the level advantage, it maybe was, but considering the geography, very risky.
All right, Fallside flew to the Pirate Camp to collect those 2 coins. They now have enough for yet another turn, which will eliminate the middle keep, but 16 has been attained by Cognitive, and they want to stand here. They want to take the fight to Cloud9.
Okay, imposing presence picked up for Johanna. We do have the Earthgrass Totem once again, but a fight brewing over this turn-in point.
All right, the Blessed Shield there to keep Fallside alive. Nicely done, but I believe the Butcher still does have the Furnace Blast, and he is going to charge in. This time around, you cannot use Divine Shield to stop that damage from going off.
Yeah, also the Silence was thrown out. There it is. Take a look at the Butcher. He does get the takedown, and it's going to lead into a stronger fight. Okay, and we see that Uther is being targeted at the time being. Yes, I think he is going to get taken down. No, don't forget that the Ghost is still able to heal, but they're looking to continue this chase.
2 heroes did fall. The chests have just spawned, and they have more than enough coins for a turn, but Glaurung doesn't want to overextend. All by himself at the moment. He does have shot to help him peel off, but taking this camp is a little bit risky.
Okay, look at, I mean, we have 2 takedowns in that last fight. The chests have just appeared. They were able to turn in. They're taking the aggressive mercenary camp. I said they needed something drastic, and that is the kind of result we were looking for. Cognitive all of a sudden looking to be very much back in this game.
And the crazy thing is they've got enough coins for another turn-in after this. They've got these Giants in the bottom lane, and from the double turn-in, they will actually pass Cloud9 Maelstrom in terms of experience. They're getting Soak across the map, collecting Bruisers in the bottom, going for the Giants on the right side as well. Really just dominating the control after just 1 fight.
They just managed to take all of the forts from Cloud9 Maelstrom's side. This evens up the structures a little bit, and I think a lot of this is going to come down to the boss. They were able to take the Bruisers on the bottom side. Cognitive looking to just try to maximize this advantage that they have in terms of battleground control.
All right, well, for the heroics, they're pretty much all ready to rock and roll, excluding the Avatar on Muradin. So at this point in time, it's going to be a dicey fight for both sides.
Shot trying to turn in, just forcing out some of the abilities from the Cloud9 Maelstrom side. Caffeine just putting his presence a bit forward to kind of threaten. A couple of coins are going to get turned in, 9 at the very least from Iakona.
Yeah, wow, it's a lot. And Flame Strike, we have to talk about Ignite. This is level 16 for Kel'Thas. So these kind of poke scenarios are pretty good, but the flank on Fallside is going to be a lot of damage. The Butcher Furnace Blast does connect, but the Wailing Arrow, completely whiffed Hinterland's Blast.
They were able to keep him up with the Divine Shield, but have they expended too many resources to try to keep him alive? Glaurung and the rest of the crew are going to probably back up. I'm not sure if they have the abilities at this point to lock anyone down, but they do want to try to deny any of these turn-ins going forward. Oh, wow, that was a lot of abilities thrown down all once, and Scylol is going to get taken down on the
Glaurung is so far forward, he thought he could save them, but he overextended, giving a lot of coins to Cloud9. This is very unfortunate, and that's going to be a full turn-in going to eliminate the middle keep of Cognitive.
Almost, yeah, exactly enough coins. They just have an additional turn-in. I think this is going to get them a keep. Yeah, there's no mules in this game, so we see that Keiwan Pro is going to back up, no, excuse me, iDream will be backing up to take out those mercenaries that are pushing in the bottom lane, but they have control once more. Maelstrom battling back. They're looking to take the boss on the top side of the battleground.
I just want to take a moment to give a round of applause for our observers here, Miwa and Zoya. They've done a great job all weekend long covering the action for us here, and we do see that Cloud9 currently working on this top boss. Yeah, okay, a lot of pressure going forward. Now, what is Cognitive going to do to try to stall this out? It seems like a very dicey spot. They need to rely on the vision that TANAAN can give them, but that's going to be on cooldown for a little while, and they don't think they can test it. All right, but level 20 just about to be reached. There it is for Cloud9 Maelstrom. The boss going to force the attention of Cognitive, and Cloud9 can now do whatever they please. So as you mentioned, yes, our observers are doing a very nice job. Give those guys a shout out on Twitter at TempoZoya and at Definitely Miwa, so you can tell them what an excellent job they have been doing, because we certainly appreciate it. Yeah, they're pretty cool nerds too. All right, well, the boss, he's marching down. They're going to be, again, responded to by Cognitive, but how many coins do we have in the pockets of Maelstrom? There's at least 15. Caster math means it's not enough for a turn-in maybe. Jake glances over to the side monitor, sees that all 5 of the heroes on Maelstrom have different amounts of coins. That's going to be a bit too much for him. Just kind of conceding the scenario, and but they're not going to concede their aggression because this bottom keep is really under heavy fire. Sylvanas locking it down, but once the rotation is there, they saw 2 golden tigers. They decided to leave. That was actually a big cleanse from iakona at that point. He was able to lock out the Lunar Blaze from hitting him, and more importantly, because the Sylvanas was nearby, they could have moved forward to punish him in that scenario. This is a big deal. They were pushing on the bottom lane, and we actually see that TANAAN snuck in a turn-in favor of Cognitive. This will really help them propel towards level 20, which will put them on the even footing. Middle keep heavily being sieged. It might even go down. Wow, look at that, the Dimensional Warp. I think they actually got a fairly good juke off. Unfortunately, though, no, still prescience there, but it's going to make things a little bit tricky. Another juke! But there's people everywhere. This is a 4. Whoa, does this get them to overextend, though? That's the problem. I mean, maybe we lose that? No, I don't know. No, I guess they're not going into it. 20 was achieved, but in the middle keep did go down, but losing TANAAN means he will be down for the next 50 seconds. That is very unfortunate. I believe there are now enough coins trading those 6 over from TANAAN, allowing Cloud9 to get yet another turn-in. Yes, they're 5th for that. Yeah, for sure enough, and I think that is going to be enough damage onto the bottom keep. I think in this case, or no, actually it is going to be the top that will get fired on. So this might actually be 2 keeps. Yeah, they're very close. This is it. Yep. Everything except for the core is going to go down here, and that is massive. Even iDream has 8 more coins in his pocket, going to turn those 4 in, and here comes the Bombard from Blackheart. Okay, but what is the response from Cognitive? Yes, TANAAN is out for a little bit. I can assume that as soon as he is back up, they're going to be putting a lot of pressure onto Maelstrom, probably looking to get some kind of very much backside flank or something to that effect. They have to kind of go with a very, very risky strategy at this point, because as it is, they're kind of getting starved out by the battleground objective. They are at this point. I mean, losing TANAAN was a big deal. They lost 6 of the coins. They really needed those coins to help propel them forward in terms of catching up into the structural game. But like we mentioned, now it's the core being sieged up. 4 cannonballs will go onto it, just chipping barely not through the shield. Okay, what is the plan at this point? We're going to see all 5 members of Cognitive roaming forward. Oh, the arrows are constantly on point from Keiwan Pro, always getting a good sight as to where the enemy team is. I know that Maelstrom is thinking at this point, we're going to get ransacked by Cognitive somewhere. As long as we can defend that, we have this in the bag. Yeah, this Tyrande is a professional Hedwig trainer. I mean, even that Hedwig catching. Butcher is actually going ridiculously fast, just barely not connecting onto that false head. Yep. He does increase speed the longer he charges, but his little short legs can only take him so far. Yeah, there is a maximum range on the Ruthless Onslaught, so just outside of it. Not sure if it would have been a clean pickup considering how far he did run, and the follow-up might not have been there. So a little bit of battleground control going back to Cognitive, but still the pressure is there from the objective. Yeah, it really is. 3 coins going from DunkTrain. Epic Flight on Falsehead, just whipping his way into this battle. And then there are 7 sitting there unmurdered, and that's a lot. Again, caster math is really hard, so we're not going to go for a total. Okay, yes, the battle over the objective, the turn-in point.
what is going to be the play from either side. And I think, you know, Maelstrom is just taking a very defensive posture to this.
They have no reason to commit to a fight, because if you lose here, they drop all their coins. That can be a turn-in for Cognitive, could turn into a win for Cognitive, because we're 21 minutes into this game.
We didn't actually get a chance to talk about the Storm talent tiers. We do have the redemption on Uther, as you might expect, so if he does fall into the battle, he will be back up, so keep an eye out for that. Rewinds on both Tyrande and Muradin for the extra stun potential, both on Sylvanas, and actually the epic flight for Falstad.
Fourcourt's actually really good at caster math, and he just told us that there's 1 coin deficit needed for a turn-in in favor of Maelstrom. So if they are able to just get 1 coin, they'll get the turn-in to pretty much secure the win. The big Starfall Lunar Flare, nice cleanse there coming out from Rhaegar to keep the Butcher alive. But what do they have in terms of heroics? Just the Starfall has been used.
Yeah, and that's going to be a big deal. Starfall, you know, not the most amount of damage, usually just used for that area control. Caffeine, they're looking to try to see if he's out of position. Once more, the Ruthless Onslaught going forward, but the stun, the Lunar Flare, and also the Dwarf Toss, more than enough to keep that away. Yeah, and these catapults 90%. Are starting to do a number. They've taken the shields down to 10% on the core health.
And the longer that Cognitive is out on the map trying to stop this turn-in, well, the more this is going to amplify itself. That core will really start to take damage that cannot be healed up. There are no mules in this game.
Here it is. They're getting very aggressive onto the core area at the very least. If they can take a team fight, I mean, this isn't over yet by any means. The aggressive play, Glaurung, realizing he has too much. What is the play? They're just diving onto this at this point. No heroes on the enemy side. We do see the Hinterlands Blast Whip. What is going on?
This is a complete disaster as they're just trying to dive onto the core, but they're just being peeled apart. But it's falling pretty quickly. We do see the Unstoppable on Johanna. I just don't think they have enough damage between Tassadar and, well, no Tassadar, because every single member on the side of Cognitive has fallen, and Cloud9 Maelstrom will advance once again to the grand finals.
I called for an aggressive play, and I respect what they did. They didn't quite have tabs on where every member of Cloud9 Maelstrom was, and they thought, you know, our best bet is we can't just continue to hold control of the battle, the Blackheart area, because they're eventually going to starve us out with the catapults. And we already saw that starting to get a lot of work done, so making a giant dive onto the core, I respect that play. They were looking to try to get a chance to go to a Game 3, but as it stands, Cloud9 Maelstrom is looking to get a rematch against Tempo Storm. They will be granted just that in the grand finals, taking a 2-0 victory over Cognitive Gaming.
And well earned. That was a well-fought game by Cloud9, really controlling those coins, controlling the objective. And Jester, what'd you think of that game?
I had a really good favorite moment in that one, and this goes right back to Cloud9 Maelstrom, because that Falstad has become definitely my big MVP. Not only yesterday did they get so much work done from Cloud9 Maelstrom with that Falstad, today again, iDream shows us the power of the Griffin and the Airy Peak Riders. So let's go right back into a little bit earlier into the game. This might look a little familiar, because not only does Glaurung on that Butcher look for, again, that solo kill, he even actually brought up his friends iakona and the Kael'thas up there into the corner as well, being played by Hospital. So what happened here? Well, we threw out one of those owls a bit earlier, and that kind of, you know, the Glaurung and crew, they kind of backed off. Then they came right back into it, and the big thing here is that iDream's like, I haven't seen him in a while. Let's go check out the boss. Sees the boss. It's really low, and then he's just like, all right, I need to do something about this. Glaurung over here is not in the prime position to kind of do anything about iDream, so he stands on the boss. We got Hospital over here. He's like, oh, I can't be anywhere near this bird at all. And Iakona's like, well, I'm kind of the same, on the same page. He's going to try to leave. The big thing is that the boss, the Grave Golem, didn't like anybody being near him at all. So he does a big AoE stomp right in this kind of big area, and that is what led us into iDream doing some fantastic play in a 1v3 situation. If we advance the replay from here, you're about to see what I mean. So Iakona say, nope, no dice. Okay, he is going to go eventually that way, but the big stomp and the big hinterlands right there from the iDream not only get the one takedown, but here comes the invulnerable as well. The boss is gone, and there goes Rhaegar off to the side. It's just like all of a sudden the big collapse, and all of that was due primarily because of iDream. He is such a fantastic Falstad player, and he's made plays again and again on that hero.
That was almost a Bacon Blast, because it did hit 2 targets, but not quite, not quite.
Bacon Blast to the side of Grave Golem, yeah.
Oh, okay.
What a heads-up play, though. I mean, it's a situation where you're not at all thinking about using your heroic. It's just you're saving that for the team fight, but to just see the stop immediately and then throw out the Hammerang and then immediately into the Hentowen's Blast to put a lot of pressure pressure on them, buy a lot of time for Uther to get up there to throw on the Divine Shield. All of those plays, just big props to iDream for making that happen.
So the other thing there is that, it was 3-on-1, but the Grave Golem with the Stomp kind of, it did that anyway, but he didn't even hit Kael'thas. Kael'thas is the one that went down first, and so we hit the Kael'thas, we saw the squiggly line of doom, and what did Drakar do? Immediately just snap healed the Butcher, who wasn't actually in danger of going down yet. So Kael'thas has kind of got left to his own devices, and I think that snap call really just is going to eat at iakona for a little bit.
Well, we saw some very strong play by Cloud9 Maelstrom in that game, and they will be advancing to face TempoStorm. We want to know who you think will be able to take the grand final, so get on Twitter. Use the hashtag HeroesWC and hashtag Cloud9 Maelstrom or hashtag TempoStorm.
Yeah, this has been the developing rivalry in the NA scene for some time now. Ever since Zuna has been added to TempoStorm, they seem to have Maelstrom's number. And Maelstrom, every time we talk to them, they're like, we've got it. We know what is going to happen, how we're going to take out TempoStorm. So I'm looking forward to this grand final. So let us know what you guys think using that hashtag voting. But Jester, let us know what has transpired today with the bracketology.
All right, as you wish, Sir Kobe, because as we go into it, Cloud9 Maelstrom, we saw them up here in the earlier brackets. They didn't lose here. They didn't lose here. Well, actually, they kind of did. So that's why they're down here into the lower bracket. But once more, they move on, and this is now the grand final spot. Now, something to note, TempoStorm, of course, they came in here in June. They were the top seed because they won the thing, which means that they're kind of exempt from becoming another seed in the Americas. They're not two teams, no matter how much they want to be, which means that right now, it's Cloud9 Maelstrom and Cognitive that have secured those seeds to move on into the Americas regionals. But what's coming up next? It's going to be TempoStorm and Cloud9 Maelstrom duking it out, with Maelstrom having to win 2 sets of best of 3 against that grand finalist upper bracket winner. And, history is not on their side, because this is exactly how June went.
And you mentioned that TempoStorm has to win twice, Cloud9, but TempoStorm, they only have to win 1 best of 3.
They do.
So 2 games, 2 wins for Tempo, and it's all over. But when it comes to Cloud9, they need to win a best of 3, reset it, and then a new best of 3 will begin. But on that note, guys, we're going to get the grand finals of the July North American Open ready to rock and roll. It's going to be TempoStorm versus Cloud9 Maelstrom. We'll see you in just a few for that match.